Hello.
Hello, BookTube,
Hi,
and
everybody.
I'm here with Scott. We're
Hi.
just gonna do a live and see what
Yeah.
comes up topic-wise. And Mark's
Mark.
here.
Awesome. Yeah. Super Bowl Sunday. I imagine
Is
you're
it?
getting ready to watch the big game, Sean. You gonna stay up all night and watch it?
No,
I didn't think so. I'm just joking. That's funny.
I didn't even know it was. So
Uh huh. Yeah. This is the big day.
better hope there's no power cuts from Canada. Just acting.
Power cuts from Canada. I think they're playing the game in New Orleans, so
Okay.
they're ready for Canada's attack in New Orleans.
I get an email to say that I'm live on my own channel. That's good
Oh,
to know.
that's good. Just a warning, a little extra thing in case you didn't know it. Yeah. So on these things, when you schedule them, I mean, if your computer was on and stuff, would it just go live, or do you press a button?
Oh, I have to press a button. That's
Okay.
why when I had the one scheduled and we had the storm here at
Mm-hmm.
the end of December, I had no electricity. I couldn't get on. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even answer messages or
Uh-huh.
even listen to messages on Voxer. Just, I had no
That's fun.
connection because the phone went out as well, like the connection with
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, the data.
Hmm.
Had no phone, no
Yeah.
electricity,
Wow.
no internet, nothing.
Yeah.
Cut
That was
off
quite a
completely.
deal. That was quite a deal. I knew that you were having trouble because Liverpool canceled their game. I think it was at Everton. So, um, but yeah.
It's
So
also amazing. I
I was
had
wondering.
a leaky roof and lost a
Mm-hmm.
lot of. I lost several books because of water
Dang
damage.
it, man! It's all fixed.
No, the roof's not fixed yet.
Oh boy. Got plastic over your books?
Well, I know where it's leaking, so I just make sure I don't put books there.
Cool. Good plan. I learned from Steve Donahue one time that it's important to have a mug and you sip it while you talk.
Yeah.
It's what the dude bros do, right?
I need to have a big sandwich too and
I
eat.
was wondering if you've seen this before.
Yeah, no, I had not seen it.
This is the history of science fiction, a graphic novel adventure. And I was flipping through it the other day and I saw that Simak is in here. So I had to bring it. Where is he here? Oh, here's a page. So right there
Robbie
on this hand
robot.
right here, that's Simak. Yeah. So I think in this graphic novel he has claws that come out and he can attack people.
What, Simak?
Not really. I'm just joking. but but yeah, it's the history of science fiction. So I mean, there's um, I don't know that. I mean, let me see if I can find who's that. Silverberg probably. I just yeah, there's somebody that we can definitely recognize there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there's Asimov there in the center. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's called The History of Science Fiction, a graphic novel adventure. Um, Xavier Dolo and Jibril Morissette Fan.
Oh,
And
okay.
the forward by Ted Chiang, who's one of my favorite writers. Where is that? Oh, there it is. Ted Chiang is uh, probably my favorite contemporary author.
Yeah, I've only
So
read one story so far.
yeah, his
The
Asimov. Yeah, yeah. Go for it.
Scotty, yeah, I lost. I didn't lose a lot, but I lost about four books, and it was in the doorway into the bedroom or the front bedroom where my most of my books are. A lot of them are, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a bag that I was taking upstairs to put on the shelf, and science fiction stuff too. Set it in the doorway for me to then go in, and it dripped, 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 and
Mm-hmm.
they were destroyed. They're like
Dang it,
accordions.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
Are they replaceable?
Yeah, they
Yes,
are.
Asimov's misbehaving. Yeah. I don't think he is in this book, but that's
No,
funny.
they
That's
should have had
hilarious.
him as like this, and then have a whole bunch of hands all over.
Yeah, that's his superpower. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, what did you say you lost? Was it science fiction?
yeah. I lost.
Neptune Joseph.
I lost. Let me see the Hartwell's hard science fiction. I think one.
Oh, the Hard SF Renaissance.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
shoot.
it's still readable.
Yeah.
I also had the Ursula K. Le Guin's Penguin. Or
Oh,
not? Is it Penguin? No, the
the
Norton.
Library of America, maybe. Is that what?
The Norton anthology that she
Norton
had.
anthology. Wow.
And then there was a Simak, the Special Deliverance UK first. I had one, but it was rough shape, and this was pristine.
Oh shoot.
And so that's
Oh,
gone.
that's a heartbreaker. Yeah.
And then I had the fourth, well, the Rise of Endymion. That is, it's got some splattering on it, so it's damaged but not gone.
And that's a
And then,
hardcover of that one. Is it a hardcover of Endymion?
yes, yeah, with the first,
Wow.
yeah.
Do you have a hardcover of Hyperion?
No, I have a first of Fall of Hyperion. I've got a first of Endymion signed and a first of, well, a damaged first of the last one, the Rise of Endymion.
I looked into. I wanted to get a nice hardcover of Hyperion, and they are priced way out of range. They are expensive.
Yes.
So
The strange thing is, about 4 years ago, I saw the first two for like 180 pounds and really good shape, or at least listed. And I thought, oh, I can't afford that. But like 4 years, it was. I just lost my job, so if I would have had, if I still was working, I would have probably bought it. But now they've tripled in price.
Oh man, yeah.
Don't worry about it, Scotty. It usually happens. Yeah, and then two film books too. One's not so bad. Like they're all readable, but it's like they're
Yeah.
like
Oh shoot.
yeah. Well, the thing is, yeah. The next time I'll purposely buy some Harry Potter to put in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that Mark is saying, yeah, the Norton anthology was controversial.
So the
It
Norton
did,
anthology you're talking about, that was it all Ursula K. Le Guin, or
no, she edited it. It
she
was
edited it?
choices,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
What made it controversial?
Sort of buddies, and it's like it wasn't. It's supposed to have been sort of, like these things are supposed to be the best of, in a sense, and some of that wasn't, and it was odd
Oh,
choices
I
for
see.
what was in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know fully the full controversy behind it, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't go over well.
And they probably use that in college courses.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you remember with the in the Pole memoir, where he's talking about Damon Knight and the science fiction writers of America and the
Yeah.
Mitford, writing
The
group, and
Mitford group, yeah, talking about whether or not it was like a underground force or something like that. But it turned out that they just voted for each other, right?
yeah,
So
for the
it
Nebby,
wasn't it
yeah,
wasn't some conspiracy. It was just they knew each other and voted for each other, and yeah.
yeah. Well, it's like he's like I forget who he asked to get a jump on who won or something. He
Mm.
says, "Well, I can't tell you that," and he says, "Can you tell me? Did anybody is it are any of the winners not or didn't go through the Mitford?"
Oh.
And it was like, "No, everyone."
That's incredible. Yeah. I used to vote for the Hugos, and I was pretty surprised when I first got into it how few nominations something would need to get on the ballot. There wasn't a lot of people nominating.
Oh,
So, it could be something, just very few. You'd think it'd be hundreds and hundreds, but often it's not that many. I don't know if it's like that now, but
what was the prerequisite to? I thought you had to go to the convention.
you don't have to go. You have to be a member of it, and it's like for $40 a year, you can be a non-attending member.
Right.
and that gives you voting rights. You just buy a membership. So the Hugo is given by the World Science Fiction Convention, and the members of the convention get to vote. So, and then if you vote in one year, you automatically get to nominate for the next year, but then you have to join again to vote. So yeah, they send you that. So I used to do that for a few years, and I enjoyed it, and then it got to a point where I just feel like I've been getting separated more and more from modern science fiction. I'm going to say, I don't know, since 2010, maybe a little earlier than that, maybe around 2010 is, there started, it wasn't so much the novel slates, but the short story slates and everything. I would read all of them and not find one that I thought was like a Hugo story. Back in the day when, the Hugos were actually really good, especially in the short fiction, of finding the stories that were, I'm going to say, the biggest impact on the field. It feels like there was less politics on the short stuff than the novels. Winning the best novel was the politics one. And Fred Pohl, in one of those interviews, he said, it got to be where, you might have an author that deserved to win one year and didn't. And it was almost like they made sure that the author won later. And I say making sure, it was just a general, the people that voted would tend to vote for that person maybe for something they didn't deserve, right? Just to make sure that they got the award. Some people say that of Asimov and Foundation's Edge as an example, is it's not his very best book, but it won a Hugo that year in the 80s.
Yeah, like there. If you look at the Asimov edited ones, the first couple volumes, it's all great stuff. Like you can see why that they are chosen.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good stuff. And then Pohl was saying that what was it, half of them or for the 1 year or something like that, or a couple of years, most of them were writers he had under his belt.
And I can see why that would make you proud too. It was
yeah.
It was interesting hearing him talk about being an editor for stories and how you felt a kinship or a responsibility or a pride when somebody won. And yeah, Mark's exactly right there. It's a different crowd of people. I'm going to say that, and because it's the World Science Fiction Convention that votes for it, it's just become a different crowd, and they vote for the stuff that they want to promote, and usually it's often it's for political reasons. It's the message of the thing, not the thing.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. It's not the writing quality or anything like that, but it's the message of it that seems to be the important thing. So, but yeah, it got that way, and it got. You're probably aware of all this, but it got pretty heated. There was a time where there was some insurrection and people trying to figure out how to get what they wanted to be nominated. And I know that kind of thing had gone on more than just recently, but then they made the Dragon Awards, which is they're always given in Atlanta every year, and I'm trying to remember. I think it's just called Dragon Con. And that became kind of an alternative to the Hugos, but I haven't seen that it's become as prominent. But I love looking at award lists and nominees and stuff. Every year I always look at them just to see what people are talking about and thinking about. And
there's so
now
many.
and then I'll pick one up.
There's so many. Like there's a John W. Campbell. If that's
and the John W. Campbell Award is for the new writers. It's for but they renamed it because they don't like Campbell anymore.
Yeah.
I even forgot what they renamed it, but.
And then you got the Locus Awards as well.
And the Locus Awards are really great, I think. They're voted by the readers of the magazine, but the initial slate is put forward by the Locus editorial staff, but it's huge. They're very generous getting people on that list, and then but the voters are all readers, so. But what I like most about that award is if you go look at the history, there's a website called Award Web. I think it's Internet Award Science Fiction Database. So whatever those initials are, .org, and then you can look at their short list is long. So you can really page through that year by year and see what the top stuff of every year was. Even if it's not the award winner, you can see the ones that people thought were important at the time.
I've always liked Locus.
Yeah.
And Mark saying
yeah.
is now.
I kind of feel like now the Nebula. So the Nebula Awards are voted on by the members of the Science Fiction Writers Association. But they're really very nearly the same crowd. Not exactly, but very close.
Yeah, well, and well, the thing was, I guess now they become political, but before it was like, they just patted each other on the back. It seemed like, according to poll, which might be a little better than the politics. I don't know.
Yeah, Joe Walton wrote a book. It was called An Informal History of the Hugos.
Yeah.
And in it, she goes through the Hugos year by year, and I can't remember what year she goes up to, but she's a voracious reader. I got to meet her one time at a convention, but she's a voracious reader, and so she basically revoted the slate every time. It was like, I think that this was right this year, or I think this one shouldn't have won. This was the one that should have won. And so it's a cool book, An Informal History of the Hugos by Joe Walton.
Yeah.
And Joe Walton is an author. She's a modern author I like quite a bit. I have a favorite of hers. It's called Lent. It's a really good book.
Yeah, I've not read it by her. I know the book, and I do want to get it.
Yeah.
And she wrote another one that was sort of her. I think it's like a reading journal type thing of stuff that she read, or is it why read? Or is it?
That's right. It was made up of blog posts that she wrote for Tor.com. And I know exactly the book you're talking about, and I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Yeah, I think it's something about rereading. Is it?
Yeah, it was her rereading stuff. Yeah, that's bugging me, so I'm going to look this up. But Joe Walton books. But let's see. But yeah, it's a bunch of Tor.com posts, and let's see. Formal History of the Hugos. Oh, What Makes This Book So Great is the name of the book. Yeah. And it's got a lot of just her musings on books and stuff. It's a book about books. But it's good too. It's really good. So she put both of those out. And but yeah, I liked her. So so I'm going to that convention. I'm trying to remember if that was the convention that I met her at. I'm not sure, but I'm going to one this weekend called Life, the Universe, and Everything, and I've been going to that for years and years and years. So, yeah, I remember I met Jerry Pournelle at one of those. This would have had to have been in the 90s, I think. I don't think it was 2000 yet. And that the funny story for me, anyway, it's funny to me anyway. So. Life, the Universe, and Everything used to take place on the BYU campus, which is a Mormon university. So Latter-day Saint University. And so Life, the Universe, and Everything started on that campus, and then now is not affiliated with the college at all. It's at a hotel, but it's in the same town. So anyway, so I'm sitting in there. I get into a panel early, so I'm sitting in there. Jerry Pournelle is the only one sitting at the panel table, so we're just chatting a little bit. And the panel was on Writers of the Future, which he was involved with as a judge and things. And so you have Scientologists, and Scientologists are setting up the room because the L. Ron Hubbard folks are who run Writers of the Future. So so people started to file in, and most of them are LDS people, right? And so you have Scientologists and LDS folks in there, and he just starts to talk, and it becomes more and more uncomfortable the more he talks. He's starting to compare Scientology to Mormonism, and it's getting more offensive by the sentence. And just as people are filtering in, he's just chatting away, and that's just a funny memory. But I enjoy the conventions a lot. So that convention, the life, the universe, and everything. Again, that audience is changing too, because they used to invite what I would call major authors coming in every year, and the authors that are the guests of honor this year, I actually don't recognize either of the names, right? And it's simply because they're writing in the YA field, and I'm not paying much attention to that. So yeah, the audience is kind of changing. So the people that go there are there to learn how to write. It's a symposium. It's not really a convention it's like the panel's part of a convention without a lot of the other stuff that goes on. So there is a dealer's room. They've started having a gaming room, but often when you go to a convention, there's like a gaming track, and there's games going on all the time and things like that. So there's some of those other things aren't happening at this one. But anyway, a lot of the people that are attending now are wanting to write YA, which is the kind of the hot thing to be doing at the moment, So, but yeah, this convention, Orson Scott Card was guest of honor one year, and Barbara Hambly, I remember, Kevin J. Anderson one time. Yeah, so writers like that. And then I even understand that like Roger Zelazny was a guest at this convention, but that was before I started to attend. Would have loved to have met him. Yeah, there's Kevin J. Anderson, yeah.
I read this a couple weeks ago. I finished it.
Oh, cool.
And it's this part 1 of the 7th book of the Dune series.
Yeah. So I've read Dune and Dune Messiah. I haven't read past that yet, but I'd like to. And then one time I used to review audiobooks, and I remember I reviewed, I think it was like House Atreides. I can't remember whatever the first one of that was. And that was back when there was abridged audiobooks. So it was like a 4-cassette version of House Atreides. And now they don't really do that anymore, which is great. But that's all. I don't have any memory of it, so I often wonder how worthwhile those are.
Well, I enjoyed this. It's long, good, but they're not Frank Herbert. They don't get into the sort of the really plot details and the sometimes convoluted sort of machinations of the people, mm-hmm. and there's not too many thoughts in it either. But it was enjoyable, and I've got the second part, which is Sandworms of Dune, and if that works out, then I'm going to go back and read like the House Atreides, the House Harkonnen, and House Carino.
Cool. I think those were the first ones that they wrote. I think was Atreides. Yeah, that one, that little group.
Yeah, and then read through them, I think.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was, because these are these are expensive new. Like they want 10, 12 pounds for a little paperback. And when I bought this one last year, must have been around September, I guess, in preparation for it, because I saw it for a little cheaper for £8 something. So I grabbed it. And I was looking at, and I thought, well, I'll probably just buy the hardcovers because they were only like £10, £12. And, I'd have to get them from the US, but then you buy from one dealer, price is cheaper. I just looked again last night, and the ones from the same dealer that were like 12 to 15 pounds are now 45 pounds.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And that's in 6 months, I guess.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
So I won't be buying the hardcovers.
You bet. And it reminds me, oh shoot, if Mark took off. But I had something for Mark. I'll just say it anyway. But Mark was talking about Baen Books having trouble, and Larry Correia splitting off from Baen Books, which it looks like has happened. But he still has another major book coming out by Bain. But anyway, at this convention I'm going to be at, there's a presentation from Arc Press, which is the publisher that Larry Correia went to.
Okay.
So they have some new thing going on. I don't know what it means or anything, but they're going to talk about what this press is, and I don't know if they're looking for submissions or what, but it's going to be interesting to hear from them. So
So
it's called Arc Press, ARK Press. Yeah.
Is Bain Press like folding?
No, I don't. I actually, it's not clear to me if they're actually having financial trouble or not. But to lose an author like Larry Correia is tough. Oh, good. So good. I'm glad you heard that, Mark. So anyway, I'll let you know what I learned from these guys. Because it is, there's a guy named DJ Butler who publishes with Bain, who's also part of ARC. And it looks like the senior editor and then some other editor from ARC Press are going to give this presentation and describe what it is they're doing that's supposed to be different. And I have no idea what that's going to be. But I wanted to let Mark know that, and I will definitely let him know what I find out anyway. But anyway, so whether Bain is in financial trouble or not, I don't know. Bain is also going to be here at that convention. Every year they're usually there, and they do this thing called the Bain Roadshow, and it's usually a 90-minute presentation on all the stuff they've got coming out, and they give a lot of free books away, and it's always very interesting. But I don't read a lot of Bain books. I'm not really. I've read some David Weber, there was one called 1632. But it's not usually the type of science fiction that I like best, so I don't read a lot. There's a lot of military SF. Not to say that I don't like that. There's some that I do. There's always exceptions. Whenever I say I don't like something, it's like there's always an exception. It's like I can't say I don't like YA, because there's always exceptions. There's some YA that I do like. It's just something that I don't read a lot of, right? And so it's cool. Mark loves Bain.
I've been buying.
I'd be interested, Mark. If you're still here, what favorite authors have you got that are Bain authors? Because I'd love to check those out.
I've been buying James P. Hogan stuff.
James P. Hogan, I love it. He wasn't with Bain, but I think he's being reprinted by Bain, right?
Exactly, that's what I was saying. Because I've been picking up stuff.
Yeah, and I know Bujold. Bujold, I've read a lot of, and she's with Bain. And then David Weber, I read I don't want to spoil that, but I think it's called Out of the Dark by David Weber, and I think that was Bain. David Weber is usually Bain, but I guess I don't know if this particular book is. But anyway, that was a crazy book, especially the end. So
Well,
I won't say any more. But if you guys, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, that's fun stuff.
The one thing that they've done, which is kind of cool, I just wish it was in print form, is they've got a series of old sort of proto science fiction or whatever you want to call it, but really interesting and key books from like the 19th century and even some earlier, as well as the early 20th century, that most people don't. All you do is hear about them in reading other books.
Yeah.
You'll never see copies of them.
Wow.
But they're doing them in ebook.
And that's Bain doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I know I saw that Bain is like they took Poul Anderson's Psychotechnic League. He has two different leagues or whatever. They're like two different sets of stories or whatever. But they printed like a three volumes of, it was trade paperback, 3 volumes of the collected stories of, and I thought it was called the Psychotechnic League.
Oh, okay.
So they're republishing things like that too. So
yeah, I wish they would have hard copies of these. Because it's just I've got a couple of them.
Yeah, but, bring up Mark's. There it is. So yeah, Bujold I really like. David Weber I really like. Now David Drake I've read very little of. He's got a Sword and Sorcery. I think the collection is all Sword and Sorcery. It's called Balefires, that I got from Bain, and then. Sharon Lee and Steve Miller were at a local convention one time. It was called Conduit. So I got to see them, but I haven't read any of their stuff. And I think that's a space opera.
Yeah, that's
an ongoing long series of space opera. Yeah, and A. Bertram Chandler for sure.
Yeah, those have to be obviously reprints for Chandler.
Yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
the Sharon Lee and Steve
Hmm.
Miller sound interesting. But
Yeah, I just haven't picked one up. If Mark, if you have a suggested Lee and Miller book to grab, I would be very interested in that. But yeah, very cool. And I haven't read all of Bujold. I really like Bujold's. She wrote this fantasy series, and there's two books in the series that are so very good. One's called Paladin of Souls, and the other one's called The Curse of Chalion. Those are terrific books, and I know they're fantasy, not Sean's favorite thing. Um, but of her Vorkosigens, my wife loves Vorkosigens and has read them multiple times, and I've read three or four of them, but I do like them. So why I haven't continued, I can't say. I just need to just do it.
yeah, I've
But
got to
I do enjoy her quite a bit.
I've got to go back to her because of the fantasy stuff. I've sort of went away. Like I read a
Yeah.
few things and then just didn't continue
Those
because
books
of
are
all the
very
fantasy.
good. I can't speak to the rest of them. There was one called The Hallowed Hunt that was not up to the standard of the other two. And then she's been writing novellas. I think she's an author who um, I feel like she's got the ebook rights herself and is publishing ebooks herself, which is probably pretty lucrative for an established author to do. But I think that these novellas that she's been writing are just going straight to ebook, even though there have been some hard copies published. But it almost feels like that's secondary to what she's doing. But
Yeah, because I
it's called
want
The
to
World of Five Gods, and I haven't read the
try out
novellas yet. But yeah,
the Varsogian ones because I don't think I've read any of them, or I might have read one in
mm,
the past, but I don't remember.
yeah, yeah, they're good. They're fun books. All right, take care, Mark. Thanks, man. Yeah. So yeah, that's fun stuff. But but yeah, I enjoy going to these cons a lot. I wish I could go to more. I've been to one World Con in 2006. That was in Los Angeles. And then I guess I went to a second one during COVID. It was they just did everything online, and
Oh
I
yeah, I
joined
remember
that.
saying
And that was a pretty cool experience because Robert Silverberg was there, and George R. R. Martin was there, um, Joe Haldeman, and did I say his name twice? Yeah, Silverberg, Martin, and Haldeman. They got together. I'm pretty sure it was those three. They got together and did a panel, just them three, just talking about the old times, and that's gold. You know, just absolute gold. And I don't know what happens to those things if they're available somewhere. I haven't actually looked for them, but that was really neat. And Silverberg is just really interesting to listen to. And I remember some of the highlights from the 2006 Worldcon were things like Ray Bradbury was there. I went to a panel with the Killer Bees at a V, and the Killer Bees are Bryn, Bear, and Benford, and the V is Vingy.
yeah.
That was a pretty cool panel to go to. Um, yeah, there's just some good memories. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've never been to those. The only convention that I've been to are things where they get the actors from TV shows.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the
So
only.
yeah, we could Comic Cons, I guess. Around here, they have one called Fan X,
Okay.
and so I've been to a couple of those, but those are so packed with people, it's almost uncomfortable. In fact, not almost. It was. You just first of all you go for the dealer's room. It's like having a giant mall open with just full of stuff that you don't need but you want. And and there's nowhere else you can get it, so I would go for just the dealer's room and just come by home with a pile of stuff. Um, but but yeah, they're just so packed, so packed. But it's really fun. Some of the stuff that I really enjoyed there. Um, Shoot, but what's the name? The guy who plays. He did the Cornetto trilogy. I don't know, Simon Pegg. he was
Oh,
somebody that gave a presentation there that I was really happy to have attended. That was fun. Saw William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, but he was via video back in that time. He joined via video. Um, but anyway, it's fun. But the bookish stuff is my favorite kind of stuff to attend.
yeah, I like I know there's been several here in the UK, but when ever I looked when I could get around, there was nobody. It was just didn't seem. I just had no interest to go to them
Yeah,
because there were
yeah,
no authors that I was interested in or even
yeah.
heard of. So,
Well, it's fun if I recommend if anybody's watching this and there's a local convention, even if the guest of honor is somebody you haven't heard of, I would try it out because all the local authors come to this usually. So it's really interesting. Sometimes it's a surprise learning, who lives within 2 3 hour radius.
mm,
Because they come. So at this convention that I go to every year, a lot of the same authors are there every year, and we all see each other at the same time. There are people that I see at the convention that I generally don't see at any time outside of it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of cool. But it's just a group, like a whole bunch of people like you and me talking about this stuff for 3 days. So it's
yeah.
like the guest of honor is almost irrelevant. You know.
Well, that's what like the only thing that I came close to that was when I went to silent film festivals.
Oh, cool, cool.
Same type of thing where you get
That must
people.
have been awesome.
Yeah, those are cool. But and I could see that. I just never bit the bullet to go to one of these for some reason, and
Mm,
now I won't be able to go. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, shoot.
but yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff online now too. A lot of people are putting the panels online
yeah.
from some of these conventions, and after this is over, I'm gonna actually see if I can find. That must have been the one that was online where Silverberg and Martin and Joe Haldeman were talking. That must have been 2021, I'm guessing.
Well, there's
Um,
that YouTube channel. It's called Fanac, I think it is.
mm-hmm.
You're probably familiar with it.
Yeah.
That has a lot, like even older stuff.
Mm,
Like somebody's taking a 16 millimeter or 9 millimeter camera, and it's
yeah.
shaky, recorded with
Yeah,
sound.
and gosh, some of those things. Can you imagine? It's like all these panels that have happened.
Yeah.
Just imagine, like a Worldcon from the early '80s, late '70s. That must have been just awesome.
Well, there's one that's up there that has Simak, Gardner Dixon, Lester Del Rey,
Yeah,
Theodore Sturgeon, and I
yeah,
think
just so
somebody
cool.
else.
Love it. Yeah, that is just that would have been heaven. So we need a time machine to do that. But I guess a lot of the times they weren't recorded, even in audio recording, and that's a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, but like these were, and then a few of them. See, that's the weird thing is, there's the one with Simak. It was recorded. It was put out on an album. It was actually put
Cool, a
out on
record.
LP.
Nice.
You know,
That's awesome. Yeah,
and
I
I
love it.
I'd love to get it, but
Yeah,
I haven't really looked for it too
yeah.
much.
And the guest of honor speeches are usually very interesting too. No matter who the guest of honor is, it's really interesting to hear people talk about their niche or, you know, the state of science fiction or whatever it is. I remember Joe Walton. What she talked about was adventure plots. I remember it really clearly because I was really engaged with it. She was saying that there's too many adventure plots, and she said there's so many other plots to choose from. And then she started to just go through books that did not have adventure plots that she loved, and she was just giving example after example of books that were taking a different route. So very interesting. That's what she did with her speech. In fact, I
Yeah,
think
well,
that's actually on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube. That one.
because yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
there's I've got a few booklets. I really like the sometimes they've published after the fact the speeches, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they've done that, and I've got one with Simak and Asimov talking, and Simak
Yeah.
in one of his guest of honor speeches, he talks about where sort of science fiction came from, where it is, and where he sort of sees it going. And that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see people do that throughout all these things because they all have different views,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they were right and sometimes they were wrong. You
Yeah.
know,
Right. I'm just looking here because I don't think that was a Life, the Universe, and Everything convention that Joe Walton was at, but I cannot remember what it was. It might have been a Westercon or something like that. It could have been World Fantasy even. Um, but anyway, she gives a. I'll look it up, but and maybe I'll just make a comment on this video with the link to it because I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. But so yeah, Salt Lake City, which is pretty close to me, they occasionally get one of the cons that's traveling. We never had a World Con that I know of, but they've had a World Horror Convention.
Oh yeah,
and they've had World Fantasy here as well. So when they come here, I definitely go.
There was a World Con that was in the UK when I was here, I think, but I couldn't get to it for some reason.
Yeah.
I can't remember when that was, but I wanted to go to that one, but I couldn't.
Yeah. It's fun.
And well, I think here the only thing that's close enough to me is Whitby, and I think there's a Dracula convention or something.
See, that would be so fun. The first convention I ever went to was a Star Trek convention, and I was in college in Tucson, Arizona, and it was a Star Trek convention. They were just having it downtown, so I popped over there for the day, and Marina Sirtis was there, and I'm talking about this would have been late '80s. I mean, the show was still on, right? So it was late '80s or early '90s, and of course, she was fantastic. So for me, I again, it was the dealer's room. You walk into a dealer's room, and it's just this huge room full of people selling Star Trek stuff, and I was instantly in heaven. So yeah, but it was a pretty small convention, I remember, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see her and all that. But that was the first one I'd ever gone to.
Yeah, first I went was in Toronto. It was a Star Trek one.
Cool.
But
was anybody there that you remember?
Star Trek wise?
Yeah.
Not really. But I went for the Babylon 5 ones because they had a Babylon.
Do they have Babylon 5 conventions?
They do in a few places. Yeah. It's but usually they're sort of a sub bit of some other convention. And I've been to several here. Like I've seen several of the actors, like in Canada and here. Several of them are dead now as well.
Yeah.
And I got signatures, which was nice.
Yeah. So I know I shared this with you, but I've started my Babylon 5 rewatch.
Oh yeah.
And I'm about 8 episodes in. So it's going well.
Yeah. The first ones are a bit shaky. I always figure
a little bit. Yeah.
The acting. Everybody talks about the bad acting of what's his name that's playing Sinclair.
Oh yeah.
But he kind of works eventually. He doesn't work.
Yeah. And then it turns into, isn't it Sheridan after him?
Yeah. Sheridan,
season 2.
Yeah, second season.
Yeah.
It's when I first knew that was happening, I wasn't too pleased with it because all I think of him is how the West was one TV series, but it was like it worked. He worked.
Well, that's good. Yeah. He does. Yeah. It's good. I mean, you can call it bad acting or whatever, but it fits the genre that he's doing right then.
Yeah.
It's like
as
Captain Kirk
showed up
Captain Kirk almost. It's not like William Shatner is the best actor ever.
Yeah. As Bester showed up yet? I can't remember. 8 episodes.
Nope, I haven't seen Bester yet. I've seen one psychic person. Are they psyops or what do they call those folks? Psychops, right? So anyway, she helped in a situation. So that's all we've met so far.
Yeah. She That's the Talia. I
Yeah,
think it is
right.
Talia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she gets replaced back with eventually the original one that was in the original film
Hmm.
in the Gathering. She gets out.
So was The Gathering made before the show, or was it a flashback?
No, the Gathering was the pilot in a sense, and then
Okay.
it was picked up from that.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the other ones like it's in the beginning is the Earth Minbari War. So you learn some stuff there, and then there's the
Hmm.
other films as well.
Yeah.
Third
Yeah.
Space. I can't remember now.
Hmm.
The titles off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I got to rewatch it. It's about time to rewatch it again
Hmm.
as well.
Cool. Sounds good. Definitely. So what are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading a history of a volume two, a history of South Africa.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's a 5 volume set that was written by a Canadian, strangely,
Hmm.
that wound up being sort of head of documents and stuff like this and archives in South Africa, and he wrote a ton of stuff on South Africa.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat because well at times he goes well these are all the people, the immigrants that came on ships, and he lists them all like
Hmm.
page after page, and it's like it's like yeah, I'm not sitting there reading through this, but
Yeah.
you can just see somebody, and then like he'll also put he'll mention a bunch of names saying well there's all descendants of these people that are in the
Hmm.
archives that live in South Africa today, which is kind of cool for those people. They can
Right. Right.
that they're descended but from somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really
But yeah,
cool.
the one thing that was kind of funny was because the Dutch East India, it's still in the 1700s, so the Dutch East India Company is still in control there,
Hmm.
and they have the farmers, and the one farmer builds himself a little mill, like by a little stream, and he applies to say, well, I want to mill my own flour for myself, and they finally let him do it. But you can only do it for yourself, the amount that you use, and then but you've got to pay the same fee to the person who would have done it anyway. It's like, well, what's the use?
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So,
Very cool. So last night I started to read a book called The Enchanted April.
oh yeah,
It's
that's
for
really
a podcast to do. So it's the first time I never would have run across this book, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm just a couple
I
chapters in.
yeah, I really like it. There's a few films that have been made. More recent one in the '80s, I think it was. That's a good
Hmm.
one.
Yeah, because
Uh,
the name sounds familiar, but I don't know that I've seen the movie. But is it just called Enchanted April, the
yeah,
movie?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'll
Oh, I
look it
really
up
loved
after
it.
I finish.
I've read it about 4 times.
Really? Oh, how
I,
cool is that? That's good.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So I'll talk to you about it when I'm done. Then. Yeah, that's great.
Uh, should I show you? Should I show the book
Please,
that I got here?
please do. Yes.
Uh, I, does any? I'm sure a lot of people know Gilbert White's The Natural History and Antiquities of Selborne. He was a preacher of some sort. He must have been Church of England, I guess,
Hmm.
1700s, and he wrote all these letters about his area, Selborne, and it's become a classic. And I got on eBay something that I just can't believe how cheap I got it. It's a 1900 limited edition vellum, a binding in vellum,
uh,
limited to 160 copies, and only 150 were sold. And they're two massive volumes and they're all signed by the artists and the editor. And mine is number 24. And here's the first volume.
wow.
It's massive.
Look at that thing.
It's a bit dirty,
Very cool. Yeah. Look at that.
and this is difficult, but just
Oh, that's
wonderful,
beautiful. Yeah. Look at
wonderful.
that.
And it's a really strange way of doing this. If I wonder if Scotty knows about this, because there's some of the artwork, it's like on a tissue paper that is glued. Like it's this one here. You probably won't be able to see it, but it's like a piece of tissue paper that's connected to the page around the edges.
Interesting.
I've never seen that before, and it's not that I'm an expert on any of this stuff in any shape or form, but it's just wonderful. It's just like it's just all his letters. I don't want to open it up too much in
Wow.
case buying
That's very cool. Yeah.
crack, but there's 2 volumes, and here's a facsimile of one of his letters.
Oh, look at that. Wow. Yeah.
And yeah, it's signed, like I say, by. Oh, maybe you'll see that. Maybe you'll see this one. Oh,
Interesting. Yeah.
see the way it sort of moves.
Right. Yes.
I just don't. I don't know
How interesting.
what that is. I have to look it up. But
So I wonder how they did that in 1900. How would they do a facsimile of the written letter?
good
I'm
question.
just
I guess
curious about how that's done. How they used to do that.
photo. I guess it's like photographic. I would
maybe,
assume.
maybe.
See, there it is. There, that's
Oh,
saying
look at that.
the signatures of the
Number
artist.
25, 28,
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, 25.
Very cool.
And there's, like I say, that's volume 1, and this is volume 2.
That's excellent. Nice.
Now
find.
that's what you call a scarce book.
That would be serious. Keep that off the top shelf
Yeah.
where the rain is. Yeah.
Well, I've got a cabinet down here. Over the years since I've been here, I've been I like for my birthday and Christmas, I always bought myself a leather-bound book of something that I was interested in, but I always tried to get ones that had presentation copies, like somebody won it in school for being the best in English or something like that. Yeah. And I always thought those were kind of neat.
Yeah.
So, and also any other time I saw books, leather-bound books that were cheap. So I've got a cabinet that I've been, when I'm unpacking everything now, I've been putting stuff in, and it's like it's almost full.
Wow.
And it's like I didn't
Good for you.
have that many.
I love it. I love it. I don't think I have a single leather-bound anything. What I tend to pick up now and then are things like Centipede Press, Subterranean Press, those kinds of things. Have you seen those kinds of editions?
Yeah. I don't. I've got.
I think I can probably. Hold on just a second. Oh, one of those. So here's a couple. So this is Subterranean.
Yeah.
Love this. This is a great book too, by the way. Tim Powers. It's one of his best ones. And I know you either met Tim Powers or corresponded with him over something he bought.
Yeah, I've never read it, but yeah, I picked up bound ex-library Locust copy. So I had at that point, I think every Locust edition up to about 1990 something, and I put them for sale, and he bought them.
That's cool.
He has the set of
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And this is Centipede Press. So this is Fafford and the Grey Mouser. Excuse me. Fafford and the Grey Mouser by Fritz Leiber. This is volume 1, Swords and Deviltry. Just beautiful editions. And I have the whole set of these. Bought them one at a time while they were coming out. But
yeah, if you don't buy them that way, you pay through the nose later. They usually sell out before they're even printed.
Yeah, super good. But yeah, I haven't even read all of them yet. But I love Fafford and the Grey Mouser. This is just love them. So yeah, but I tend to buy stuff like that now and then. But I don't have anything like leather bound.
Yeah, I don't get too much now. Because when I was the bookshop that was nearby in the town where I lived before, these things aren't rare like leather bound books. It's just You know, like I get bits and pieces. Like I've got 3 or 4 volumes of the Spectator from 1770 something.
Oh wow, nice.
Cool, you know,
Yeah,
to have, and they were like a couple pounds each. You know, not paying a lot of money for these things. You know,
yeah,
but
very good. Got a
but
new message, Ariane.
yeah,
Hope I said
Ariane.
that right. Welcome and hello. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been reading. I finished it, but Balzac's uh, Honor to Balzac, and this is the uh, second sort of volume,
Mm.
Lost Souls.
Yeah, I know nothing about him other than what I've heard you talk about. So
This is just amazing.
really, that's great.
Yeah, and the first one too, Lost Illusion. This goes by different titles. It's like 4 different books that he put together, or 4 different novellas, and it's been called like Harlot High and Low. But I think
Hmm.
Lost Souls really worked for it. It's set in 1820s France. Well, mostly
Okay.
Paris. Or this one's
Yep.
all Paris. The first one was a bit provincial, and then Paris.
That's cool. Yeah,
Part of the comedy humane.
that's great. Is that where you'd start with Balzac?
Probably not.
Where
Uh,
what would be a first book? I'm just going to write it down. See if I can get
Most
to it.
people do this one.
Okay, Old Goriot. Goriot?
Yeah,
Is
or
there
French styles
Goriot?
like Goriot, like
Okay,
author or old man, I guess.
cool.
Most people, and I'm got to I never really thought too highly of this one, to be honest. But
Hmm.
now that I've read these, because you see, it's a sequence of stories and novels that are over 100 of
Yeah.
them. And a lot of them are interconnected. Like the characters show up over and over again. And I got to go back to where this one, like you want an evil character. That's
Hmm.
the one that's in this one I just finished that Ariane is still reading, Lost Souls. And like she says, he's so good.
Oh,
It,
that's great.
it's just amazing.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, it's like there's some of the French writers that just to me are so much better than British ones. Like Zola, Emile Zola is so great, and Victor Hugo. Well, Victor Hugo, especially for Les Miserables, but
Mm, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
Zola is great.
Very
I like,
cool. Hello, Alex. Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
fun.
so I'm going
Hmm.
to read that in the next week, a couple weeks, I guess, before the end of the month. It's a short one comparison. It's only 300
Hmm.
pages.
Yeah. Well, cool. I wrote that down. Check it out for
Yeah,
sure.
but yeah, it's it's he basically, like, a lot of his stuff is money is the center for everything. It's either getting it or wanting it, or not having it and causing problems, or having it cause problems.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
yeah, the villain. He's so good. It's just it's just he's so slimy and smooth, and it just, you don't know why people are, he gets people to do stuff.
Oh, wow.
It,
That's
it
awesome.
it's almost like it seems to be something that was popular, I think, in the 19th century, where you have these mastermind criminals. You've got Moriarty for,
Hmm.
uh, Sherlock
Sherlock
Holmes,
Holmes. Yeah.
and then there's even other stuff there, and for is it, I guess it is German stuff, that's Dr. Mabuse, but that's later. You've got,
Hmm.
Fu Manchu. You've got all these characters that come out of European things that are master criminals.
That's awesome. I love it.
But
I love it.
that's not science fiction, but
No,
it's
no,
still
no. I
it's
read
something
other
that
stuff
I
too.
enjoy.
The I don't know. The latest classic that I've read is The Betrothed by Alessandro Manzoni, which
Oh,
is
okay.
an
I've
Italian
not read
novel.
that, I don't think.
If I remember right, it was written in the 1700s, I think, but it's about the 1600s. So it's a historical novel. So he wrote it in either 1700s or 1800s. I
Yeah,
not don't remember for sure, but anyway, it was quite good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've read that.
Do you remember
I'm
Tom L.A. Books?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did some videos on that because it's Italian. Yeah, I guess it's a book that all the Italian high school kids have to read.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So it might be the most loved and most hated book in Italy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's like there's so much stuff that you don't see. Like the French stuff seems to be popular, I guess, and I can understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the Italian, I've read some of the Italian uh, material, but then there's Spanish stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Russians are still a bit of a not a mystery, but I still need to read more Russian, especially 19th century
And
Russian.
I haven't delved into that. Although it's Dostoevsky is somebody who's very interesting to me that I've
Yeah,
read
I like.
almost none of. So I need to read. I think The Idiot and what's it, the Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah.
Those have both have perennially been on my list, but I need to just get her done. Yep.
Well, if you like Balzac, you've got a lifetime of reading there because
Mm.
there's so much and not a there aren't modern translations of most of it. That's the thing. Like it's been translated, but they're over 100 years old. A lot of the
Oh
translation.
wow. Yeah. Oh
Ariane's
cool.
Brothers Karamazov.
Thumbs up, I assume. It's so
I
often quoted. Yep.
Yeah, I've read the old Penguin version, but there's the new one. There's a new translation which I wouldn't mind reading if I do read it. Well, I will
Mm-hmm.
probably at some point read it again.
That's great.
But
Yeah, I want to get at that one.
but I don't think Ariane wasn't
Cool.
here when I was so the
Very
100
good.
pages into it.
Yeah.
You didn't see this, Ariane. It's the Gilbert White's Natural History of Selborne and Antiquities, a 1900 edition. Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to read something that somebody's written in. 1900 limited edition to limited to 160 copies.
Wow.
No, it looks like
Yep.
somebody like a previous bookseller had written in here £3, 10 shillings. That's an old price.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an old price. I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
But yeah, limited edition 25, 160 copies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Love that
amazing.
thing. Yep.
The artwork is just fantastic.
Oh, look at that. Yep. Very
But
cool.
yeah, I'm not sure if I want to. Well, I want to read it, but I don't know. I don't want to lay it flat. That's the thing. They're heavy books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the new translation, the Michael Katz
Okay.
translation.
Is that the one I would want to get?
Probably, yeah. Well,
Okay.
Steve Donahue will say it is because he's blurbed on the back of the paperback.
Well, that's a definite go then. Yeah.
No, it is cool. I didn't pay much for it. I'm embarrassed to say how little I paid for this thing. Let's just say the price of probably 3 or 4 cups of coffee in a sort of a coffee place. That's about what I paid for it.
Perfect. That is the best way. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, I did get this in, so I'm ready to go on our first book in our.
Yeah, we got to announce that soon, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I
Just
have read this one before, and I like it quite a bit. So.
well, like
Alien archaeology.
yeah. Mark isn't here, but it started out like a new reading thing that we're going to do. Mark and I were talking about new science fiction and saying stuff that we don't really like, but we should try something.
Mm.
And so we came up with a list of 10 starting in March, and Scott's going to join us, or at least for some of them.
Yeah.
There's a few other booktubers as well. And we're going to read newer science fiction. And what I mean is like in the last 20 years or so.
So if I remember right, anything before 1980 is a thumbs up for you, and Or
No,
am I
before
even too late?
1965.
1965.
It's
Okay.
66, really.
Yeah. So I
Well,
grew
it's
up.
like you know the thing in rock and roll where Richie Valens died and then played, and they say that's the day the music died.
Right.
The
Yep.
day the day science fiction died was when Hyperion was published. After that, after Hyperion, there was
Oh,
it.
that's what was
That
that? 1991, something like that.
nine, I think they originally came out in 1990 paperback, I think, or
Okay.
1990.
Yeah. Very good.
So,
So yeah, I grew up in the 80s. So graduated high school in 86. So the science fiction that I was reading as a high school student into college, the contemporary stuff was 80s. So there was a lot of things like this. It's kind of a big science fiction epic with aliens and so I'm thinking Greg Bear, um, David Brin, those kinds of things.
yeah, I didn't get to those until a bit later, maybe late 80s, because
Mm-hmm.
when I was
Orson
reading at
Scott
the same
Card, yeah.
time, but I was penny counting, so I was
Uh-huh.
buying the old paperback that were like 10 cents or a
Yeah,
nickel or something like that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why I think I like the old science fiction, even though
I
I
love
didn't
it, love it.
buy them,
Uh huh.
but that's what I read because
Yeah,
that's what I could afford.
you bet, you bet. Yeah, and Orson Scott Card was another big one at that time too. And then um, it was through the library, because I really didn't have. I think I mentioned this before, but when I think about it, there was nobody telling me what I should read.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
I
have
didn't have
somebody
either.
that was like a big science fiction fan saying, "Here, kid, read this. It's great." So I kind of discovered it through Arthur C. Clarke, and I've talked about this before. A book called Dolphin Island, which was in my elementary school library, and from then on, it was just on the constant search. And it's funny how the reading, there's a whole category of book right now. I guess it's YA that didn't really exist when I was a kid. There wasn't a YA section. Yeah,
Juvenile.
you had the kids section, and then you had the adult section of the library. So it was like I went from this juvenile like Arthur C. Clarke novel, and then in my search for more of it, it just went straight to the adult section. So I'm reading. I remember I was reading Asimov, and then I found a science fiction magazine on a newsstand, and from there I had the science fiction book club, and that's where I was finding stuff to read. And not that nobody else in the high school was not reading science fiction, because people would be reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and things like that. But I often wonder now. It's like what was my source of information? It's funny that it's not clear in my memory because now it's the internet. Everything's just
Yeah.
available. If you want to look into science fiction, you just find somebody who's into it, and you can do that. But it just had to have been the newsstands and the library. Whatever the library had. If they had some display or something. But I remember walking up the ramp in our library. There was a ramp up to the adult section and finding Asimov in there, and then
Yeah, me, I
through
think
the
it was.
science fiction book club getting those things too.
Yeah, I think for me it was just bookshops, and I
Yeah,
I can't
that's
remember
true too. That's a
where
good point.
where I sort of started. I think most likely, well, as a kid watching Tarzan films,
Hmm.
and then realizing that it was a series. I started reading Tarzan,
Yeah.
and then from that finding out that he wrote other stuff, and then the
Hmm.
Barsoom and other,
Yeah.
and then went from there. And I don't know where or when I guess it was sometime in the early 80s, probably, that I really got into or found Simak, Asimov,
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh,
That's cool.
and Frank Herbert. But
Yeah.
like for newer stuff, I started working at a bookshop in Toronto, and it was a science fiction bookshop. So I saw new stuff. So I started at some point, reading some new stuff, but I still
Hmm.
couldn't afford a lot of the new stuff. I
Yeah. Yeah.
just went for the cheap cheap ones,
And
and it's
that's
like, oh,
what,
that
yeah. I
looks
mean,
cool.
as you're describing that, I now it's like it was the used bookstores were prominent. We had one called the Bookworm, and I remember it well because I would go in there, I'd ride my bike over there, and then I'd look through every single title on this paperback shelf. It's not that it was massive, but I was always familiar with all these older writers and things, but
I think
um,
there's a bookworm in every city, there or was in every city across the world.
yeah, because it's always funny, I kind of missed Heinlein as a kid. Me, like we're talking about Heinlein, and
Yeah.
I didn't ever have a Heinlein phase when I was a kid. It's like I didn't run across him. I mean, that much. I would have in the bookstore and everything, but I never picked his stuff up and read it, and all I was reading other people. So,
Yeah, I picked it up, and yeah, it's just the way it was with me is if an author really hit me, then I tried to find everything they wrote
hmm,
or every book that I could, and it was like a joy to find something that I
yeah,
hadn't
yeah,
read. And yeah, it's and Heinlein just didn't do it for me. I just remembered his short fiction I really liking, and
hmm,
rereading his stuff now is so far, yeah, the short fiction is holding up for me.
yeah. That's great. Good.
And yeah,
Yep.
just with everything, yeah, nobody. I didn't have anybody telling me. I go into a bookshop and look at the paperbacks, and I'd see the orange penguins, the black penguins,
Mm,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. I would pull stuff off the shelf, and I go, "Oh, that sounds interesting,"
Hmm.
And I one time I pulled off this massive thing that was well Les Miserables, and it was like,
Hmm.
this looks interesting. I'm
Yeah.
game for this.
And
And then
I spent zero time in the Les Miserables section. But you're right. As you say this, obviously the bookstores are where I was. That's where I was finding what to read, and even
uh,
the new ones. Like there was Walden books in the mall, and I remember you'd go to the mall with the parents and just like, okay, I'll be here. Just come back and get me when you're done. And I would be in that bookstore for hours.
yeah, like Joseph says he couldn't afford new books, so frequented used
Hmm.
bookstores. Asimov and Heinlein quickly became uh, uh, uh,
My two favorites. Yeah.
favorite. Became two
Yeah, and
favorite.
for me it was Asimov and Clark. That's
Yeah.
what every Clark I could find, every Asimov I could find.
Yeah, and I suppose it was Asimov and Simak for me because I just kept
Mm,
looking for everything that was Simak,
yeah.
and then finding, and then finding sort of. I think the thing that really did me because until probably the early '90s, I didn't, or yeah, it must have been very early '90s. I didn't know everything that he wrote because I didn't have anywhere to look, and then I
Right.
found
Right.
out that there was a bibliography.
Mm.
Then the Muriel R. Well, it's was collated by Muriel R. Becker, but it was the Judith Merrill Library in Toronto, science fiction library. She donated her library
Oh wow. Hmm.
to start this, and as part of the Toronto public library system. They photocopied me
Oh.
the uh, the thing. Like it was published in 1989, so it
Hmm.
was out of date at that point. But then it was like, wow, now I've
That's
got
great.
everything. I've
That's
got a
great.
list of everything.
Yeah. How cool is that? That's fun. And now we just get on the internet and
Yeah.
look up by a bibliography of Simak, and up it
Yeah,
comes.
but it's still like
Hmm.
there's still stuff that's not complete. Like that's
Mm.
the thing. It's not like there's. I do say though the Wikipedia page for Simac's bibliography is pretty good,
Hmm.
and then everybody is now getting on to the uh, Internet Science or Speculative Fiction Database
Yeah.
ISFDB.
ISFDB. Yep.
Um, it's still in flux. It's still adding
Oh,
stuff. So
it
there's
will.
stuff
It
that's
will forever be. Yeah.
it will be, yeah.
Yep.
So you have to be careful of thinking that that's the be all and end all of the information.
Yeah.
But it is getting better.
Yeah.
Uh, so they wanted to dip my toe into science fiction.
Oh, that's fun.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, join us for some sim. Well, wait till we move along a little bit because
Yeah. we're in we're in his early period again.
Yeah, the first few that we're doing may not be the best to start with.
Wow. What would you recommend to an adult who has never read science fiction?
I first want to know what they liked.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, what they liked reading. But I'd probably pick something like a Bradbury or a Simak or maybe
Mm-hmm.
even Asimov. Like, I don't think I would suggest to anybody Heinlein, even though I'm sure a lot of people would. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just today I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
mean,
if
that
if
sounds
if
good.
they if they enjoyed reading, if they enjoy reading, just general literature stuff, then yeah, I would, Bradbury or
Yeah.
Simak would be good.
Yeah. Bradbury. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that for sure.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And because the thing is, he wrote in so many genres,
Yeah.
basically. It was
Especially,
just
it
popular.
seems like Ariane, and I hope I'm saying your name right, is a literary reader. And if she is, because she's liking Balzac and stuff, then
Yeah,
Bradbury would be a great choice.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that
Oh, yeah,
too.
I
Ender's
Robot.
Game is a good one to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I Robot. I would love to have a first of I Robot, like
Oh yeah,
a gnome
that
of
would be
I
cool.
Robot.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I do have I finally achieved one of my goals is having a first city, a gnome uh, uh,
Hmm.
city.
Yeah.
That that
I
was
love
good.
that. I still don't have a hard copy of City, so I'm just keeping my eyes open. I'm not doing some deep search or anything, but as I go around, I'll find me one.
Yeah, well, some of the book clubs are nice. I wouldn't mind getting some of the book clubs as well for my collection
Hmm.
because they never used the cover of the Gnome Press one for the book club editions for some reason.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why.
And they've only did that they've done that with a few of them,
Hmm.
that they didn't use the original cover, but
Yeah.
then a lot of them it's just the same cover, so yeah, I don't really care.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she says right above that, she has a
Oh.
Simak short story collection on hold. I wonder
Oh, yeah.
which
Okay.
collection that is. If it's a best of, that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
short stories would
and
be a
then
good
with
choice.
Bradbury, the obvious choice is the Martian
Chronicles.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
Um,
And then I Robot is short stories. It's
iRobot is also short stories, and so is Martian Chronicles. It's kind of a um, what a fix up, I guess.
yeah, liminal space. Which one?
Ooh, October Country is also a great
Oh
choice. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one.
yeah. That's more
Which
like I would say almost like Twilight Zone stories, kind of in October Country.
which book club do you have? Because there's like four of them, I think, at least four different book clubs of City.
Mhm.
They've done at least four different ones. For some reason, I don't know why. It's
Yeah.
that and Way Station are the two that have been reprinted the most.
Hmm.
But Scott, if you can get the centenary one that was done by um, Old Earth Books, I think it was 2005. It's
Okay.
limited to 2,000 copies, but uh, it's a nice one.
Okay. Cool.
City. Mark's back and says, "What did he miss?"
Mark. Okay, we'll start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is the new collection of that's part one, I think, volume one of the 14 of his
Hmm.
complete science fiction stories. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I wonder what's in that. Let me look.
yeah.
So I'm going to ISFDB, which is awesome. I
Oh yeah, I know which one that is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't mind getting the all the book clubs of City in good shape. They just people want too much money for them. They hear though.
hmm Okay, so I don't really know any of these stories, but here's what's in that collection. Installment plan. I
Yeah.
had no head and my eyes were floating way up in the air.
That is, I think that's the one that was going to be in the last. What's the Harlan Ellison? Dangerous.
Dangerous Visions.
I think that was the one that he'd sold for the third volume. I think.
Okay, and then Small Deer,
Yeah,
Ogre, Gleaners,
yeah, that's a good one.
Madness from Mars,
Yeah, that's one of the 30s.
Gunsmoke Interlude.
That's a Western.
Uh-huh. I Am Crying All Inside, of course, and then The Call from Beyond, and All the Traps of Earth.
Yeah, All Traps of Earth is really good.
Cool.
It's also
Is that a
called.
pretty good one for her to start with?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
It's a whole range of his.
Mm-hmm.
The All the Traps of Earth is also called, I think, Bathe Your Bearings in Blood.
Hmm. Cool. She says she's in on a western.
Yeah, yeah. There's 14 of them, so there's one in each volume. There's one in
It's
each
crazy
volume.
that he. Why wouldn't you put out a western collection? That would sell. You'd think.
Oh, why Simak didn't?
No, why this editor didn't?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's supposed to be the complete, but I don't know why he didn't put them chronologically, and it really
Yeah.
bugs me that they're not
Yeah.
chronologically.
Right.
But he could have. He could have easily put out a. There is a collection of 1940s westerns that Damon Knight did. It's a nice collection, and it's got a Simak. And that was the only thing I ever had. That was the only
Mm,
western that I could ever get until I got these volumes.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And there's still some, like the one about the I cannot scream or whatever.
Yeah.
That I think is from the Dangerous Visions. I haven't read that one yet. There's
I
still
have no mouth and I must scream. You mean? Oh, you're talking about his. I
yeah,
had no head and my eyes were floating way up in the air.
yeah, or whatever. Yeah,
It's a
but
good
yeah,
title. Harlan
yeah,
Ellison would love that title.
I think that's what it was for.
Yeah.
And I haven't read that. And there's still some that I have. The Madness of Mars is his late 30s one
Mm-hmm.
that he started writing back for John W. Campbell. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a western on Mars. It's based.
Cool.
It's got the feel of a western, but on Mars,
Love it.
like or frontier days, I guess, or
Mm-hmm.
pioneer days. You know.
Very good. That's great. Very
Yeah,
cool, man.
yeah. He's always called the pastoral science fiction writer, but I think that sort of, which is true, but it leaves out so much stuff that he wrote. Like, it's like he's done cosmic horror. He's done everything. He's done fantasy, and the pastoral stuff sometimes leaves out the fact of his, the philosophical depth of his stuff, I think.
Which is what I've been most surprised at finding as we go through these is the philosophical depth has been terrific.
Yeah.
It has been so interesting. So, yeah, I'm loving it.
You won't have it in the next two, though, much
Okay.
at all.
Well, we'll get through it. Yeah.
But yeah, but he definitely is. It's like him and Bradbury, to me, are about the closest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you start reading more, then you'll find that he's got a bigger range than that. It's because I think most of his best known stuff is very pastoral, like City, like Way Station. Even though they are philosophical as well, but they're very they are pastoral for sure.
So, if you're going to take a look at that for philosophical reasons, I would look at All Flesh is Grass and Project Pope.
Yeah.
Those are, outside his mainstream, the ones people know him for. Those two books are terrific. Really, really good.
Even A Choice of Gods I really like too, because it had, it sort of, it just seems like he had like you talk about how there's a conversation between writers, I think, but he had a conversation with himself, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so. it's interesting to go through an author like this when we're reading book after book after book by the same writer. Yeah, you're so very right. Yeah, and it is so good. So there's so much in there in Project Pope. But you're right. He's definitely. It's like he writes a book and it's got some of these ideas in it, and then later on he thinks, well, what if this wasn't quite like that?
Yeah.
And he does it again, but with slightly twisted.
Like Project Pope, it's got everything but the kitchen sink in it, and even the kitchen sink, I think,
Yeah.
because so many ideas. It's just like you read a page. There's a few pages there that you read through, and you go, "Wait a minute!" It's like you could count off 10 potential novels from these ideas on one
Yeah.
page.
Yeah. Good stuff. Really good.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, there's still people though that think he's a horrible writer. Like, I come across that.
I don't understand that. Yeah, at one bit. So, yeah.
And it's just because like when Mark at Book Time with Elvis and I did this, well he first did it on his video. I don't think he was the first one, but I saw it there where he went through Goodreads and look at 1-star reviews, and we looked at some of the 1-star reviews for City, and it's like these people are reading different books,
Yeah.
It's
funny. It's funny how a lot of people review things based on what they wish the book was.
Yeah.
It's not on what the book is. It's like, I would have liked a book about this, but this wasn't about that. Therefore.
Well, even the last one we read, the Goblin Reservation, that was just so much fun, and
that was a hoot.
There was a lot of philosophical stuff in there in the background to a certain extent, like but it was just fun. It was just pure,
so fun,
pure fun.
Yeah. He had a good time with that one for sure.
Oh, he said it was the favorite book that he had written, and you could just see it. You could see it. It just his humor really comes out.
I brought this one too.
Oh wow!
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials. I don't think there's any Simak in here.
No, I don't think so. I remember the Overlord. Yeah, that they're on the cover from Childhood's End. I used to have that. I've been wanting to get another copy of that.
Oh, it's just fun as heck. I'm trying to find one here. Let's see.
Yeah, the Barlow's Guide.
Yeah, Michael Bishop. Let's grab one that.
You show that to science fiction people, and they all smile, I think.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Oh, here's a little Frank Herbert from the Dosadai experiment. Oh, here's Dune Messiah. So this is a guild steersman from Dune Messiah. Yeah, and that's what this whole book is. It's just, you got the alien and then some little description there.
I like the Overlord from Childhood's End.
Yes, let me find that. Yeah. Case of
that
Conscience.
Looks like almost a new reprint. Is it a?
What's that again?
Looks like it's a new reprint when you held it up. Is it?
I don't know about that. Let's see. Well, it must. Well, it just that it has a little flag on it that says full color. Yeah, it must be because it says copyright 1979 and then it says forward copyright 1987 by Silverberg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've not seen that version.
Yeah, there it is. Childhood's End.
Yeah, that's just
the Overlord from Childhood's End. Yeah, that was a good book. I remember Childhood's End. My brother was taking a class. They actually had a science fiction class at the high school, which was gone by the time I got there. But he was supposed to read Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. And I remember he gave it to me and he said, read this and tell me what's in it. So I did. And I loved it. That's a fun memory. I haven't thought about it for a long time.
I'm slowly going through and rereading Arthur C. Clarke. And
Yeah.
and the first one I started rereading several years ago was Childhood's End, and I enjoyed it, but there was things that were niggling me about it.
Hmm.
But I've read a few others, like The Fall of Moon Dust, Prelude to Space, and I really love Sands of Mars. Sands of Mars
Hmm.
is so far my favorite, and
That's
I'm
great.
definitely,
And I have not read that one, so I need to find that.
yeah. There's
I
it.
remember they made it was a Sci-Fi Channel miniseries on Childhood's End that I thought was absolutely horrible.
Oh,
They
was
kept
there?
they kept making these little miniseries. The one where I just threw my hands up in the air was the Earthsea one, The Wizard of Earthsea by
Oh,
Ursula K. Le Guin. I can't remember what they called it. I can't remember if it was called A Wizard of Earthsea. But 10 minutes into that, I threw my hands up in the air and I was like, forget it.
well, I
So I
tried to.
stopped paying attention to what they do. But
Well, they did River World, and it's just
did they really?
absolutely
See, I didn't
horrid.
know that. It's
Yeah,
just
absolutely. I don't know if they did it, but somebody did it, and it's absolutely horrid.
what on
The,
earth? Why?
the Sci-Fi Channel did well. Dune, they did well. The
Oh,
first three
yeah,
books.
I do remember that. And they actually did Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
Oh, it was so bad. I mean, it was. It was like, why did they even um, put the name on it? You know what I mean? It's like, why did they buy the novel if they were just gonna do their own thing? You know?
Well, it's like what was it, a couple? I think you showed me that Way Station. There, some streaming service has bought it and is going to make it, but they're calling it a thriller.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I'm going,
We'll see if we'll see if it gets made. But I mean, it's like, what? I just don't understand it. You know?
it's like I'll watch it eventually if it comes out. It's like I do want to watch the Foundation ones, and I guess they're still going on, but I just cringe to think of what they've done to
Yeah.
it.
I yeah. I watched a couple of episodes, and I was just like, man, you remember the movie I Robot?
Yeah, I didn't
And
care for it.
so the thing is, I could see Asimov peeking through in that. It was an action movie,
Yeah.
right? Will Smith action movie, but there were little bits of him in there. I don't know that I'd have called it iRobot, but yeah, I don't know. But
Mark,
it certainly wasn't an attempt to be faithful to the material. That's not what they were doing. But again, why? Yeah, why do
Mark
that? What
watched what's the new Dune series, and he thought it was pretty good. So I want to see that.
the
I
new
want
Dunes? Oh, the yeah, on HBO, it's about the sisterhood or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
The
I
Bene
just love
Gesserit.
the scene say, "Oh, our little school for girls. How can that be?
Mhm.
Hurt anybody? It's something."
Wow.
I
Yeah,
just love that. But
I'm
yeah,
glad it's good. Yeah, that's
yeah. That's
true.
the
Yeah,
reason for
very
that
true.
is because of John W. Campbell. Did not like aliens. He wanted humans mostly,
Mm.
or when there was aliens, humans had to beat the aliens and get on top of them. Basically,
Yeah, yeah.
that's Campbell. But then he did write one. The what is it now?
The gods themselves.
Yeah, that that
Hmm.
is that is fabulous.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the what's the Eternals? No,
The
well,
end of it. The end of eternity.
yeah, the end of eternity too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he does introduce, spoiler alert for everybody for Foundation, but he does finally insert aliens or suggests aliens in the, but he never
Mm.
went on with it. But the three Bs definitely have aliens in their trilogy uh,
Mm-hmm.
for the Foundation trilogy.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting stuff.
but I see
Yeah.
Asimov. I mean, Simak had aliens all the time. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's aliens there.
Yeah. The universe is teeming with life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
and
cool.
sometimes they're very human, and sometimes they're not.
Mm-hmm.
is his robots definitely are human like, or better than
Mm-hmm.
humans.
Yeah.
Jenkins is
Jenkins,
one.
right?
That's in that the graphic novel you got there. They got the
Yeah.
robot from Forbidden Planet, but that
Mm-hmm.
has to be Jenkins.
Yeah. It actually calls him Jenkins. Yeah.
So is that the only
Cool.
one that you're missing, Mark? Of the Benford and
Benford,
always
Brin, and Bear.
Bear. I
Yeah.
always forget one out of them. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
get I get them alternately all the time.
Greg Bear, I liked him a lot. He was Paul Anderson's son-in-law, I believe.
Oh yeah,
Greg
yeah. I
Bear,
think
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But Greg Bear wrote a lot of really good stuff. Eon and The Forge of God.
Yeah, I got to get
Um,
back into some of those.
Lots of good, Blood Music. And Blood Music, I like the short one. He expanded it to a novel, but the short one is really great. It's enough. Yeah.
What's is it? It's Benford that did this Galactic Center series.
Yeah.
I need the first volume, and then I'm gonna.
Timescape or something? Is that the one? Is it called Timescape? Is that the right one?
I'm not sure,
I'm pretty sure that's the first one.
but I need.
Timescape.
I got all the rest in hardcover.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
some are signed actually.
Oh, very cool.
A bit rough, but
Yeah.
because they've been read.
Let's
But
see.
yeah, I sort of were collecting them for quite a while, and I just need the first book.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Galactic Center.
Because
There it
I
is.
know.
No, so I'm incorrect on that. It's called In the Ocean of Night
Oh,
from
okay.
1977. That's the first one. So the book I mentioned, Timescape, he did write that, but it's not part of this series. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I noticed that Steve Donahue was reading Startide Rising by Bryn. If he hasn't, he was rereading it. I don't know. I'm sure that took him an afternoon.
Yeah.
So he's probably done it and moved on, but he was talking about it the other day.
Yeah, I gotta. Well, that's what this new. Like I say, there'll be. I'll do an announcement. I don't know if Mark will as well. Sort of past the 15th, I guess. We'll do an announcement for this
About
new
this,
group.
and this is the first one.
Yeah, Engines of God. And then
Engines
the
of
second
God.
one is Tchaikovsky's Children of Light. Is that
Children of Time.
Children of Time?
Yes. Yeah.
And then what's the one after that? I can't remember now.
Well, I can look it up. I have it in this little document.
Uh,
All right. New Futurian. Consider Phlebas by Ian Banks is number 3.
so the idea is we're gonna there's 10 books till the end of the year. 8 of them are going to be the first of series, and then in the middle and the end there's going to be standalone novels, sort of. And one of them is actually 2023, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's.
It
I
sounds
don't know
interesting.
anything about it. It's called Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh.
It's looked interesting when I saw
Very
it.
good. Excellent. Yeah, very good.
And then also too, the last one is the To Sleep in a Sea of Stars or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's right.
Oh,
By Christopher Paolini.
that's
the
a
guy,
cheat
the
because
guy who wrote Aragon.
yeah.
Yeah, and Aragon was an amalgam of other things.
Well, I read the
remember,
prequel to this one that we're going to do in December, and it was intriguing.
Really,
So
I'm glad. I
so
actually have heard really good things about both the book that you just mentioned and the Sea of Stars one. Now, the Sea of Stars one is a big one. It's like 800
yeah,
pages or something.
yeah.
So, but it'll be fun for December. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Aragon either, Richardson. Yeah. It's fun when my kids. So my kids are grown now. My youngest is 24, and when they were in their teens, and reading stuff, I would kind of join in and read some of the stuff they read. So I've read, for a period of time, I read a lot of the YA stuff that was coming out, like Hunger Games and Twilight. Twilight I dislike intensely. But Aragon was one of them, and I read it at that time, and I wasn't a fan. I was kind of surprised that it was so popular. One of the things, like when I read something like Aragon, I'm like, oh, but Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey, which clearly was the inspiration for part of this. I wish people had read that more, because it's so good.
He was only like 15 or 16.
Yeah, he was very young. He was very young. And it was like Aragon, and I haven't read the other two, but Aragon was like, here's a little bit of Star Wars here, here's a little bit of, just really popular stuff, just kind of thing. And that's exactly what Mark's saying there. That's what I understand too. I've heard really good things about those two science fiction novels that he's written recently, and I definitely want to check them out. So I'm glad it's on our list.
Well, that's because I forgot about that one, because I read the prequel and I go, it doesn't work as a proper novel in some ways, because I think it's a prequel, but there was so many intriguing things about it that I'm going, I want to learn more about this society. I want to learn more about this and this and that.
Yeah, right.
And I hope we get that in the main book.
Very cool. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So the name, just everybody look for. It's going to be called our group is the New Futurian Fellowship.
Yeah. I keep telling myself I'm going to make some YouTube videos and keep my channel going, but I continue not to do that, other than these. So yeah, thanks for having me though. Yeah, Phlebas is a reread for me too.
Yeah, no,
I've only read two culture novels. I read that one and The Player of Games. The Player of Games is really, really good. Super good.
There's also the what is it, Hamilton?
Mm-hmm. Peter F. Hamilton.
Yeah. There's his thing is, oh wow, it's so big. It's his series, because they're all tied together.
Yes.
So yeah.
Scott, we need videos. Oh, the public demands videos. Is Mark out in his front yard with a sign, marching for? I love it. Thanks, Mark. A million. Yeah. So Peter F. Hamilton. I've read two really fat novels that are like two halves of a duology, or it's like one book that's like 2,000 pages. I think it was called Judas Unchained, and I can't remember the other one. But I really liked those. But the ones of his that I really want to read, I think it's called the Reality Dysfunction, and I think that there are two books, but they've split them up into four, just because they're long. And they've been recommended to me a number of times, and I haven't read that. So you picked Misspent Youth, which is one I actually haven't heard of.
I think that's the first of everything. I think. Yeah. It's the very first, because all those, even though they're like duologies and stuff, but they're all connected. I think they're all part of that universe.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be interesting to read that one, and but the Reality Dysfunction, I want to get to that sometime. I think pretty sure they were written in the 90s.
Yeah, and the other thing that me and you, Scott, will be the Futurians by Damon Knights. At some point, we'll start getting.
I have that. I put it over on the shelf over there. Yep, it's nestled and ready. We haven't set a date for that. I think we're just going to get to it when we do.
Yeah.
And then I think, every time we read one, if we want to read another one, I'll go acquire that one and just keep it rolling, because, it's really interesting stuff.
Well, I kind of think it'd be, like I say, the next one after that, because they're all sort of connected, is the Sam Moskowitz one, but I think you said you can get that on an ebook.
Yes. Yep. And I found it on ebook. Yeah. Yeah. When I was looking, I actually found it when I was looking for that Judith Merrill collection.
Oh yeah.
So it's NEFSA who's put it out as an ebook. Yeah.
and then after that, maybe the Lester Del Rey, 26 to 76. I'd like to reread that one. I have read that all the way through.
Cool.
So I'd like
Yeah,
to reread that one. So
that's
then
great.
that would sort of cover it, unless you want to read the Isaac Asimov memoirs.
I would actually like to do that
Yeah,
at some point.
and I wouldn't say no to rereading them. That's for
Hmm.
sure,
That's cool.
because
Very
they
good.
are fun to read. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They're definitely fun because they all show up in there. Like Pole shows up.
Hmm.
They all eventually show up. Harlan Ellison, everyone.
That's really great. Yeah.
So
You bet. Well, good deal. Well, I could do this all day long, but I better not because I'm supposed to make food for the Super Bowl, which is 2.5 hours away.
yeah, it's 8:45 here now,
Yeah.
and I gotta think about food
Yeah.
myself a little
I've
bit.
got some beef brewing. It's gonna be some shredded beef. It's already going, and
So what time should I be over?
yeah. So
Oh,
when is everybody coming? Yeah, just be here at 4, Sean.
oh yeah, yeah. Mark has the ebook for the McDevitt. Like he
Yeah.
he was saying, like, I don't know if it's out of print. He was saying like £30 or $30 or something like that for the paperback.
Yeah, I've noticed some things like Star Trek novels have gotten. The Chiefs are wearing the ref jerseys. I love it. That makes me laugh hard. Oh, too good. Um, but yeah, I mean, some paperbacks, like Star Trek paperbacks, are ridiculously priced now, and people must be paying it. So, yeah, thank you. I've seen your channel, Liminal Spaces, but I can't remember your first name. But anyway, thank you, and I like your channel a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's it is weird. Like the paperbacks. In case nobody's seen them, I
Mm-hmm.
am I am showing all my sort of at moment 1960s
Mm-hmm.
paperbacks, and some
Yeah.
of those, like I have while I was doing this, looking up prices, and I'm seeing like 15-20 pounds on
Yeah.
some things.
It's
And I'm
it's
going,
crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I have limited space. I don't have the space that you all have, and I've had to make some choices. It's like I think I'm just gonna, collect vintage science fiction, and I'm gonna have to limit it to that. Everything else I'll try to do on ebook.
yeah,
That,
yeah.
that's
I I
my new philosophy anyway, so that I don't outgrow my room.
Yeah, well, you've got room. There's books in every room, and I still
Yeah,
don't have enough space.
I don't get to put books in all my rooms. I've been limited to a little acreage.
But I have to get rid of books to put in things like this.
Mhm.
Like, it's like,
Yes, yeah. Look
like
at
that's
that.
rid of something to
Yeah,
put this in.
that's great. Very good. All right. Well,
But yeah,
thanks a
thanks,
million,
buddy.
Sean, and thanks for everybody. Thank you all. Yeah,
It was enjoyable, and
so enjoyable. Yeah.
uh, yeah, next weekend on the 15th on Saturday we'll be doing the Heinlein
Hmm.
one. You won't be able to make it, Scott, because
Right.
you'll be having fun
Yeah.
at the
I'll still be
convention.
talking science fiction. So yeah.
And then I think sometime after that, probably at the beginning of March, we'll do the next Simak one.
Cosmic Engineers,
Yeah,
which is his
uh,
first one, and is
yeah,
pulpish
yeah.
and
Well,
space opera.
yeah, it's space opera basically,
Really good.
but it's saving the universe
Yeah.
or
And the
saving the universe.
universe, sometimes it needs saving.
And for 1939, it's a woman who's a hero as well.
Well, excellent. I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All
And
right.
don't listen to Lester Del Rey, who thinks that it should have never been reprinted.
Awesome. I love it.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Take care, all.